Americans versus French, the cultural shock of tipping. Hey guys, ready for another explosive cultural comparison? Today we're talking about a topic that causes huge embarrassment for travelers, tipping. And we were not talking about just anywhere, we were comparing two extremes. The United States, where tipping is practically mandatory, versus France, where it's already included in the bill. The story of how this happened will surprise you, because it all started in Europe and ended completely differently on each side of the Atlantic. Stick around, because this video will change the way you travel. But before we start, if you love learning about cultural differences around the world, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. Leave a like to support the channel and share it with that friend who never knows whether to tip or not. And tell us in the comments, have you ever had an awkward tipping moment while traveling? Let's go. The American tipping nightmare. Let's start with the most feared place for any tourist, the United States, and I'm not exaggerating. The American tipping culture is aggressive. How it works. In the US, you don't just should tip, you have to tip. The bill arrives at your table and you see that total, but wait, that's not the final amount. You still need to add between 15% and 20% as a tip, and in many places, it's already calculated for you so you don't forget. Attention tourists, and here is the thing, leaving less than 15% is considered an insult. Your waiter might literally chase you outside asking what they did wrong. I'm not joking. There have been cases of waiters leaving the restaurant to confront customers who didn't tip. Not just restaurants. Think it ends there? Nope. You're expected to tip. Restaurant server, 15 to 20%. Bartender, $1 per drink. Taxi, Uber driver, 15-20%. Food delivery driver, 15-20%. Hotel bellhop, $1 to $2 per bag. Housekeeper, $2 to $5 per day. Hairdresser, 20%. Valet, 2 to 3. Even the coffee barista has a tip jar on the counter. It's tips for everyone. Americans have basically built a second economy based entirely on tipping. Narration. But why does this happen? Here's the shocking part. In the United States, the minimum wage for tipped workers can be as low as $2.13 per hour. That's less than 11 reais. Yes, you heard that right. The government allows restaurants to pay far less than the normal minimum wage because it assumes the tips will make up the difference. It's a crazy system. The boss pays peanuts, the customer pays the bill and the worker's salary, and the employee depends entirely on people's generosity. And if you don't tip, you're literally taking away someone's livelihood. The ironic origin. It all started in Europe. Now comes the historical twist. The tipping culture in the US came from Europe. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, wealthy Americans traveled to Europe and saw aristocrats leaving tips. They thought it looked sophisticated and started copying it when they returned to the States. But here's the irony. While Americans adopted tipping with passion, turning it into a social obligation, it never caught on the same way in Europe. It's like that friend you introduced to a new band, and they become an even bigger fan than you. The resistance, and there's more. In the early 1900s, there was strong resistance against tipping in the US. 6 states even temporarily banned it in 1915. Anti-tipping movements formed, calling it degrading and un-American. But in 1966, Congress passed the tip credit, allowing employers to pay less, and tipping became a permanent part of American culture. What started as a gesture of generosity turned into an obligation. The French way, relax, it's already included. Now let's look at the other side of the coin. France, and here the story is completely different. Service compris. The magic words. When you get the bill at a French restaurant, you'll see the words service compris 15%, meaning service included. By law, all restaurants in France must include a service charge directly in their menu prices. That means that croissant for €5 already has the service built in. You don't need to do any mental math or stress about whether you tipped enough. You see the price, pay it, and that's it. Freedom. Do the French tip? Here's the interesting part. The French can leave a tip if the service was exceptional, but it's not expected or required. Usually they leave between 5 to 10% extra or simply round up the total. Coffee was €4.50, leave 5 and done. Had great service, leave a few extra euros on the table, but no one will chase you if you don't leave anything. Fair salaries. And why does this work? Because in France, servers earn full salaries guaranteed by labor laws. They don't depend on tips to survive. The employer must pay a decent wage. The tip is just a bonus, not their main income. Cultural difference. While Americans see tipping as a moral duty, the French see it as a gesture of appreciation. Two completely opposite philosophies. Direct comparison. Real-life scenarios. Now let's see how these differences play out in real life. Here are a few examples. Situation 1. Dinner at a restaurant in the US. Bill, $50 for food. Sales tax, $3.25, 6.5%. Expected tip, 10, 20%. Real total, $63.25. If you don't leave that $10, the waiter will think they did something wrong. You write the tip amount by hand on the card receipt in France. Bill, €50, includes everything. Service compris, already within those €50. Optional tip, €0 to €5 if you want. Real total, €50 to €55. No one expects anything. You just relax and enjoy situation. 2. Quick coffee in the US. Starbucks has that tip jar on the counter. Many people leave $1 per coffee. The card screen asks, add a tip, 15%, 18%, or 20%. Strong psychological pressure. In France, coffee costs €2. You pay €2. Or round up to $2.50 if you want. No one stares waiting for you to tip. Pressure. 0. Situation. 3. Bad service in the US. Even with terrible service, you should still leave at least 10%. Leaving nothing is seen as extremely rude. The waiter might even confront you. The system protects poor service in France. Bad service, just don't leave an extra tip. You already paid for the service in the price. No drama, no confrontation. The system encourages good service. Situation. 4. Hotel in the US. Bellhop, 1 to 2 per bag. Housekeeper, $5 per day. Leave it on the nightstand. Concierge giving advice, 5.10, valet, 2.3. You'll need a lot of small bills. In France, bellhop, maybe €1-2 if you feel like it. Housekeeper, optional, €1-2 at the end. Concierge, nothing. Far fewer awkward interactions. The mindset behind the custom narration. So what explains these huge differences? It all comes down to each culture's mindset. American mindset. Extreme individualism. Everyone for themselves. If the government doesn't guarantee fair wages, the customer should pay. Free market capitalism. The market fixes everything, but in practice, it leaves workers vulnerable. Consumer culture. People accept paying more because that's just how it is. Social pressure. Fear of being judged as cheap. Double standard. They talk about freedom, but force you to tip. French mindset. Worker protection. Strong labor laws guarantee fair pay. Welfare state. The government regulates to protect the weakest. Quality of life culture. Being a waiter is a respected job with a decent salary. Service compris is law, not optional. It's the employer's responsibility. Tip as recognition, a bonus for exceptional service, not an obligation. The problem with the American system. Studies show the US tipping model has serious racial discrimination issues. White servers earn significantly more in tips than black, Latino, or Asian servers, even doing the same job. It's a system that perpetuates inequality. The French wisdom. France understood something simple. If you offer a service, pay for it properly. A tip should be a bonus, not a basic salary. Practical tips for travelers. Okay, but what about you, the traveler? How to survive? If you're going to the US, always budget 20% extra for tips. Carry lots of small bills, 1, 5 was $10. In restaurants, calculate 20% before tax large groups, 6+ people. Tip often included automatically bad service. 10% is the minimum acceptable fast food, McDonald's, etc. No tip needed buffet self-service. 10% is fine. Never leave a restaurant without tipping. You might get confronted. If you're going to France, relax. The price you see is the price you pay. Look for service compris on the bill. It's already included. If you want to add more, round up or 5 to 10% max. In cafes, leaving the change is totally normal. Don't leave coins scattered on the table. Use the tray, give the tip directly to the waiter when possible. Taxis, rounding up is enough. 18 euros, give 20. No one will judge you if you leave nothing. The most common mistake. Americans in France tipping 20% and confusing everyone. Brazilians in the US tipping 10% and angering waiters. Who's right? Now the million-dollar question. Which system is better? Question. Which system is better? Points for the US. Encourages good service, in theory. Waiters can earn more if they're good. Gives flexibility to reward excellence. Points against the US. Legally allows poverty wages. Customers pay twice for the meal and the salary. Proven racial bias. Constant social pressure. Hidden prices, not the real total. Points for France. Worker dignity. Transparent prices. No social pressure. The systemic discrimination. Customers know exactly what they'll pay. Points against France. May not encourage exceptional service. Less flexibility for customers. Prices may look higher, but are actually fairer. My opinion, honestly, with all due respect to the US, the French system makes much more sense. Why? 1. It's honest. The price you see is the price you pay. 2. It's dignified. No one should earn $2.13 in 2025. 3. It's fair. Doesn't perpetuate discrimination. 4. It's relaxing. You enjoy your meal without stress. The American system shifts the employer's responsibility to the customer and leaves the worker vulnerable. It's exploitation disguised as culture.